Hello, this is Gerald Varela again with Miami's Community News, and today we're going to be covering Surviving on Mars by Brendan Graham and Living the Line. And so this comic is very interesting in that it is a diary comic by, I think, one of the most interesting cartoonists working in comics now. And I really don't use the word cartoonist lightly here. Brandon Graham's really dedicated to making unique comics that look interesting and are fun. And I really mean that in a broader sense. You know, we're talking about a cartoonist who works with amazing lines, whose stories are always very interesting, especially his sci-fi stories. And they're always very relatable to a certain degree, no matter, what your situation is. You're going to find a piece of yourself within his stories. And I think he's never come closer to being more relatable than in his newest work, Surviving on Mars. So yeah, Living the Line proudly obviously published this. As you can see, they gave it an amazing presentation. He also works with photos too, as you can see here. He likes to work with photo stats, and that's always very nice. So yeah, Surviving on Mars, what is it? So Brendan Graham kind of got canceled a few years ago, and he had a rough time of it. And this kind of comic is a little bit during that period, I believe, and then a little bit after, and then just recently, I believe like a year or so ago. Here's Al Cap. And he talks a lot about his influences here, his girlfriend, his friends. It really is a sort of personal diary comic that we're lucky he wanted to share with the world. So, and you really get to see his imagination on full display here. You're gonna see a lot of different kind of styles that he draws in. And one of the most interesting things about this is he talks about Toriyama, right? Well, he doesn't really talk about Toriyama here. There's like a reference. And these are mangaka. This is Toriyama, and this is Hirohiko Araki, who does JoJo. And I rarely hear or see American cartoonists talk about JoJo or Araki. So shouts out to Brandon Graham for doing so. I think that's amazing. And there's also a JoJo character later on that he draws. So here's something about Miles Davis and how he's listening to a record from him, which I think is awesome. Again, it's kind of like his influences. Go 13, but Go 13 going on 30. There's a lot of humor here. There's also a lot of introspection from Brendan Graham. I believe this is his girlfriend. Yeah, Casey Jones. What a cool character design. He's never lacking in cool character design. There's a little bit of nudity in here, so keep that in mind when you're picking this up. This is my favorite strip in this whole book, actually. So Brendan Graham's girlfriend, Casey Jones, is trans, and he kind of does this one-page comic about her, and it's dedicated to her, and it's quite beautiful where, the anatomy of a Casey Jones. And he really goes into kind of her issues being trans and transitioning, and it's this beautiful empathetic kind of strip that he does of his girlfriend, and I think that's something that we don't really see a lot in comics. And so there's also some black and white stuff in here too. He talks a lot about coffee in this, which I think is awesome. Talks about formalism too. They do a really good Living the Line's YouTube channel does a really good show with Brandon called Formulism Fridays. Look at this. This is just fantastic. He could really do anything. He has another series by Living the Line called Moon Ray, and we'll definitely be checking that out at some point. So this is one of the funner comics. His sense of movement is just fantastic. You can really just see the animation going through. And he's a big Otomo guy, so I imagine Otomo helped out in that regard. And look at that. Just amazing lines. Talks a lot about Vegas. He lives in Vegas now or before. I'm not exactly sure. I think he still lives there. He says here, when I see a comic start with a wall of text, it feels like asking the reader to eat a hot dog first thing. And I think that's very interesting because this feels exactly like how almost every Chris Claremont X-Men issue starts, is with somebody at a podium with walls of text. So that feels like a shout out there. Even there might be some shade, but whatever. What's a diary comic without some shade? Just fun stuff. We saw that already. Here he talks about Akira. This is Tetsuo sitting there. A little bit of Disney going on here. Went to Disney World with his girlfriend and her parents. And his observational skills are just fantastic, and I think that's necessary for a successful cartoonist, for sure. Here's more of the photos. He mentions Jason's series, Jason the Cartoonist. We might cover one of those in the future. But those comics are great, and it's good to know that he reads good comics. Here's a strip he did for an anthology, and it's co-written by his girlfriend, Casey Jones, and they kind of just talk about comics in general. There's some allegories. Here's Diamond for, the distributor. They talk about Penguin Random House kind of taking over a lot of distribution. And here is Jotaro from JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. So nice reference here. Here's Goku. How could we miss him? And another cool thing, I don't know if I can find it, but he kind of talks about a Matrix idea that he's had. And I like it. I would love to see that happen. Maybe the Wachowski sisters can pick this up and send him an offer. Who knows? We'll see. Here's some Tintin. Very influenced by Hergé. Very, very influenced by Hergé and kind of European comics. You can see it in his clear line, as they call it. Sometimes I think of working like a heavy rusted wheel, and I feel that. Just moving the wheel can seem impossible. Very relatable. Here's a reference to Cheech by Von Bode, or as some people like to call him, Bodie, Von Bode. But yeah, this is Surviving on Mars by Brandon Graham, published by Living the Line. Pick it up. I think it'll only set you back. I can't find the price, but I'm pretty sure it's $15. I was going to say 20. This is an absolute steal at 15. So I want to say thank you to Living the Line for sending it over. Amazing comic, amazing book. Brandon Graham's a very interesting guy. You could kind of tell from his comics, but now it's solidified in the public that Brandon is an awesome guy. And yeah, so I'm Gerald Varela with Miami's Community News. I'm signing off, and this is Surviving on Mars.